Good afternoon, and I would like to thank you again for coming out. I am sorry that I was sick last week, and I appreciate you selected few who have came out again to hear my persuasive speech. I want to talk about discipline, spanking, corporal punishment versus discipline. And I believe that when redirecting children by giving them instructions, by allowing them to know what is right versus wrong versus immediately spanking them, because spanking only leads children to believe that I don't want to get caught the next time, or being deceitful. It doesn't allow them to make choices. There should be choices. For instance, a child who runs out in the street. I know out of fear sometimes we as parents might spank our children, but if we take them inside and say, if you don't run out in the street, then you can go back outside. They have options. Versus spanking them and thinking, okay, I ran out in the street, but I got to spank them this time. I won't let my parents catch me the next time. Using loud tones sometimes puts fear in children. Doesn't really allow them to respect you in a way that a child and a mother should be, or a father. Sometimes when we're enraged or we're angry, sometimes we don't have self-control. When you are disciplining children, you want them to have self-control. You don't want them to use violence, because hitting is violence, as a means of thinking that they can get away with it. But if parents do that on an ongoing, guess what happens? Children think it's acceptable behavior as long as they don't get caught. What are some of the things that you can do? You can sit them down. You can talk to them. You can, like I said, you can give them choices. Just like a child who doesn't put his clothes in the hamper, maybe he wants to wear dirty clothes. That could be a lesson within itself. A child who doesn't finish their homework, then TV doesn't go on. When using discipline, it means to teach instructions. It means to refer to helping them learn self-control. But when you do corporal punishment, like hitting, it involves physical pain. And it's undesirable towards behavior. That's why I don't believe in spanking children. I believe that there's other alternatives. And when you spank them, sometimes it's long-term effects. Sometimes it leads to children doing negative things, criminal acts. Sometimes it leads to being dishonest. And so when kids do things that are unacceptable behavior, we need to make sure that we provide them tools to know what is right and what is wrong. I had a friend once who constantly hollered at her child. And her child used to stand up in fear. I pulled her to the side and I said, try this for a while. Try, when you get upset with her, try to breathe in a couple times, take a walk, and then go back and say, this is the reason why Mommy didn't want you to do this. And see what happens after a 2 weeks term. Does her behavior change? Because although she used to holler and the child looked like they were in fear, the mother felt hurtful at the end. Next minute I saw her hugging, kissing her, and apologizing for her behavior. I believe if she started out the other way the first time, she wouldn't have had to apologize. So I say to you again, when discipline or redirecting behavior, don't think about spanking first. Try other means. to get the child to do. I've found out when you're honest with kids, you tell them the reason why you don't want them to do certain things. Like, I want you to wear your house shoes in the house because I don't want your feet to get cut. So therefore, when someone continues not to wear the house shoes, then you tell them to sit down. When you're ready to follow the directions of being able to walk around the house, you need to have shoes on. Kids understand that when parents are compassionate and loving and nurturing. But when you're hollering and screaming and hitting, as they grow up, they think that's normal behavior. So therefore, when there's an altercation in school, somebody bumps into them, the first thing they might want to do is hit back. And it could have been an accident. So I asked you parents again to talk about. I would like to thank you again for coming out, and especially this parent who has brought her daughter here to hear my persuasion of why you should not spank your child. So I know that a lot of us have been raised in a way that it happened to us, so it's good for our kids. So does anyone have any questions that they may want to ask me based on why it's important not to spank your child?
Well, Miss Baldwin, yeah. What do you think be the pros and cons? Like in my era, I guess it was okay for spanking or whipping or beating, whatever you might call it. But what would you think would be good or bad for nowadays in 2010?
Well, one of the things I would like to say, in our age, when we were growing up, they said spare the rod. I think that it's important if children know the consequences, if you give them the rules from the very beginning and allow them to make choices, or you give them choices, that children will adhere to that. But a lot of times, because we are so angry, or we get so upset because they didn't listen, or they didn't jump when you said jump, and therefore we take on our behaviors of our parents. I think sometimes we need to reflect that hitting, all it does is show another negative.
Talking about it. Don't put the year in it.
Come on, don't worry.
What?
Mama.
Put the year in it. What? No, I want to know. I want to know.
What do you want to know?
Why do parents think that spanking can solve every problem?
I think a lot of parents do what's done to them. And I think parents today are rethinking, how can I discipline my child without hollering, without hitting, because I do not want my child to have the same type of effect that I had. Because again, we are models of our parents. So if we were raised in a house that's the way that discipline was, then more often we're going to do the same thing unless we change the cycle. And do you like to be spanked? Do you get spankings?
Yeah.
How do you feel when you get a spanking?
Sad.
You feel sad? So, do you think that the next time your mom asks you to do something, do you think you're going to listen and follow through?
Yes.
So you won't get away?
Spanking.
I had a conversation with your mom, and hopefully she's going to change the way that she disciplines based on giving you consequences, giving you choices. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. And you, how do you feel about spanking?
Yeah.
It makes you mad? Why does it make you mad? It hurts. Why do you get spanking? So, what do you think you should do for now on? You should listen? Okay. Sometimes, when parents tell you things to do, it's for the good, so you should listen. Even though sometimes I know you don't want to do what your parent has told you to, but they're only trying to make sure that you have a better life, or they're trying to protect you. Parents naturally love their children. They do not want to hurt them. So, next time I hope that when your mom says, put your shoes on,
You're going to put your shoes on.
Or it's time to go, you're going to go get your coat.
You think that's a good idea?
So you think you're going to practice that from now on? I can't hear you.
Yes.